with Louella, written and illustrated by Margaret Hurd. This week's episode, Return of the Jackalope. The conclusion. When we left last week's episode, Richard was in the truck stop, about to be pounded into spaghetti sauce by a gang of angry bikers. But he asked for a final request. "Oh, all right," they agreed reluctantly. So Richard walked up to the microphone and sang them the saddest song he knew. This wasn't easy for him, as he much preferred happy songs. But Richard poured out so much emotion into his song that it wasn't long until the whole room full of bikers were all bawling and blubbering like babies. Richard then managed to sneak out. Meanwhile, Otis Jackalope was all over Louella like a cheap sweaty polyester suit. He was determined to have her, and refused to take no for an answer, no matter how much she protested. "Enough is enough," shouted Margaret, picking up Otis by the antlers. "If you don't leave Louella alone, your head's going to be mounted on my wall." "Help! Police! Cruelty to animals! Cruelty to animals!" Otis screamed at the top of his lungs, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. Without giving her a chance to explain, the police put Margaret in jail. "I'm Big Edna," said the large woman sitting next to her. "I have a feeling we're going to be the best of buddies," said Edna, placing her hand on Margaret's knee. Margaret was terrified. The woman sitting next to her on the other side hunched over the toilet, making retching sounds. "Just ignore Gladys," said Edna. "She's only doing it to get attention." Soon Rabbit and Zachary Platypus were in Toronto. They got off the train at Union Station and headed for the bus terminal to take a bus to Lindsay, where they'd see to it that justice would be done. In the meantime, Richard had managed to find himself a ride with a truck driver who was going to Whitby. In Whitby he could catch a bus to Lindsay, but meanwhile he had to endure the driver's company. This truck driver was a most peculiar character who wore a handkerchief on his head tied at the corners and talked constantly. Richard could hardly understand a word the driver said, and was exhausted by his ordeal during the day. Soon fell asleep. The driver, not really noticing whether or not Richard was really paying attention, just kept right on talking and talking and talking. Meanwhile, Otis Jackalope stopped at nothing to get Louella right where he wanted her. It wasn't long, however, until Rabbit and Zachary showed up just in the nick of time. Rabbit held Louella and comforted her, while Zachary dragged Otis away. Richard arrived in Lindsay and managed to get Margaret out of jail. Now that they were all together, safe and sound, the four of them celebrated by going out for pizza. It wasn't long, however, that back in California, Otis Jackalope was up to his old tricks again. "Oh, well," sighed Zachary Platypus, sitting on his beach blanket, eating a Vegemite sandwich. "It's good to see things back to normal around here."